Which was your role and contribution in the creation of NLP, and which was the role and contribution of Bandler and Grinder from your privileged perspective?
Kind of hard to tell because we really didn't have defined roles. We were three guys doing what we loved. And, roles changed over time. When we first started, Richard and I were partners, and John was kind of the third guy out and was the one who kind of gave Richard and I feedback and ideas and so forth. And Richard and I did most of the experimenting, using, and so forth. But after about a year and a half, the roles kind of changed. Richard and John started to work together more often, and I kind of became the boss of the team. And it's kind of interesting for me because I was with the team, and I was with John and Richard, and so I'm the only one who was with both. Because a lot of the work that was done after that would be work that was done by the team. I would bring the information to John and Richard. The three of us would code it or think about it or work it or whatever. And little by little, over that middle 2-3 years, I became more and more involved with the team, and basically was the connection for John and Richard. John and Richard and I would have group meetings about once or twice a week with the team. And John and Richard would come in as the leaders, and I was kind of the quiet guy because I didn't want to have a different role from the team. As long as the team thought I was one of them, then everything worked better and it was easier, and then they would give me more accurate, real information, because with John and Richard kind of became the guys for the team, and I was kind of the leader / spy. And that way I could do things with the team that they couldn't. Plus, the team met probably 4 or 5 times a week, but only once or twice of those times was with John and Richard. But all of the times were with me, so I had much more access to the team and the experiments and so forth. But then John and Richard were spending a great deal of their time taking everything coming from the team and coming from themselves, and writing, they spent a lot of time writing Structure Magic 1, Structure Magic 2, Hypnotic Techniques of Milton H. Erickson, and then Changing with Families, and those books. So they were better at that than I was, and I didn't like the writing. I preferred the experimenting and the making things happen and the more wild stuff. So in the third generation, then it became more pronounced, where in fact, a lot of the third generation did not know that I was partners with Richard and John throughout the whole time, because my role at that time was more like a member of the team. But I kept working with John and Richard, but I didn't tell anybody that was happening. So it's very interesting for me when some of the third generation people say things publicly like John and Richard were the creators of NLP. And that used to bother me until I started to realize that that's exactly what we wanted them to think. Because that helped me get better information more often from the team. So I used to be kind of frustrated by the fact that some of those people seemed to have forgotten my name, but then I realized that that's exactly what we did on purpose. So then I felt a little more comfortable with the fact that some of those people don't seem to remember who I am.